Dr. HFY was finishing his evening rounds at the Galactic Medical Station when the emergency alarm started blaring. The tall, blue-skinned Altarian doctor had worked at the station for over 50 years, but he had never heard the alarm sound so urgent. His forearms moved quickly as he checked the incoming message on his medical tablet. A human ship was in trouble. Dr. HFY paused for a moment. He had heard about humans, the newest species to join the Galactic Alliance, but he had never actually seen one. The humans were said to be strange creatures from a planet called Earth. They walked on only 2 legs and had just 2 arms. Most other doctors found them curious, but not particularly impressive. The message came from Captain Lisa Monroe of the UES Liberty. Her voice was shaking as she spoke through the communication system. Medical Station Kepler 442, this is Captain Monroe. We need immediate help. Our ship has suffered a major engine failure. One of my crew members is dying and our doctor was killed in the accident. Dr. HFY quickly moved to the emergency bay. His assistant, Nurse Veltar, was already preparing the medical equipment. What do we know about the patient? Dr. HFY asked as he put on his medical gear. The patient is human, Nurse Veltar replied, checking her notes. Male, age 32. Name is Jake Morrison. He works as the ship's chief engineer. According to the captain, he was caught in a plasma conduit explosion. Dr. HFY felt a chill run through his body. Plasma conduit explosions were among the worst accidents that could happen on a spaceship. The superheated plasma could burn through almost anything, including living tissue. Very few beings could survive such an accident. Captain Monroe's ship docked with the medical station 20 minutes later. Dr. HFY and his team rushed to the docking bay. When the doors opened, they saw Captain Monroe and 2 other humans carrying a stretcher. The figure on the stretcher was covered with a white sheet, but Dr. HFY could see blood seeping through the fabric. Is he still alive? Dr. HFY asked as they quickly moved toward the emergency medical room. Barely, Captain Monroe replied. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking. He stopped breathing twice during the flight here. We managed to get him breathing again, but I don't think he has much time left. When they placed Jake Morrison on the medical table, Dr. HFY removed the sheet and felt his stomach turn. The human's chest was torn open. Burns covered most of his body. His skin was black and red from the plasma burns. The smell of burned flesh filled the room. Dr. HFY had seen many serious injuries during his long career, but this was beyond anything he could treat. By Altarian medical standards, this patient should have died the moment the accident happened. The fact that he was still breathing was almost impossible to believe. What can you tell me about human medical needs? Dr. HFY asked Captain Monroe as his team began connecting monitoring equipment to Jake's body. Captain Monroe looked helpless. I'm not a doctor. I know some basic first aid, but nothing like this. Our medical officer, Dr. Phillips, was killed in the same explosion that hurt Jake. All I know is that humans need oxygen to breathe and that we heal slower than most other species. The medical monitors began showing Jake's vital signs and Dr. HFY stared at the readings in confusion. Jake's heart rate was extremely weak and irregular. His blood pressure was so low that it should not be able to keep him alive. His brain activity was minimal. According to every medical standard Dr. HFY knew, this human should be dead. Nurse Veltar, check the equipment, Dr. HFY ordered. These readings cannot be correct. Nurse Veltar ran diagnostics on all the medical equipment. Everything was working perfectly. The readings were accurate. Somehow this badly injured human was still alive with vital signs that should not support life. Dr. HFY began examining Jake's wounds more closely. The plasma had burned through skin, muscle, and even some internal organs. He could see Jake's heart beating weakly through the damaged chest cavity. Several ribs were broken and displaced. Burns covered over half of his body surface. Captain Monroe, I must be honest with you, Dr. HFY said quietly. I have never treated a human before, but these injuries are beyond anything I have ever seen. Even with our most advanced medical technology, I do not believe we can save him. Captain Monroe's eyes filled with tears. Please, doctor. Jake is one of my best people. He has a wife and 2 children back on Earth. Please try to save him. Dr. HFY looked at Jake's face. Despite all the injuries, the human looked peaceful. His breathing was shallow but steady. Something about this patient was different from any other being Dr. HFY had treated. I will do everything I can, Dr. HFY promised. But you should prepare yourself for the worst outcome. As Dr. HFY and his team began working on Jake, none of them realized they were about to witness something that would change their understanding of medicine forever. The human body was about to show them capabilities that no other species in the galaxy possessed. Jake Morrison lay unconscious on the medical table, his body fighting a battle that should have been impossible to win. But deep inside his cells, processes were beginning that would soon amaze everyone in the room. Dr. HFY worked through the night trying to stabilize Jake Morrison. The human had been unconscious for 6 hours, and his condition seemed to get worse with each passing minute. The medical team had given him 3 different medicines to help with the pain and infection, but nothing seemed to work the way it should. Doctor, you need to see this, Nurse Veltar called from the monitoring station. Her voice sounded worried and confused. Dr. HFY left Jake's bedside and walked over to look at the screens. What he saw made no sense at all. The numbers on the monitors were changing in ways he had never seen before. His white blood cell count has increased by 400% in the last 2 hours, Nurse Veltar explained, pointing at the display. That level should kill any living being, but somehow his body is not rejecting them. Dr. HFY studied the readings more carefully. In all his years of practice, he had never seen blood work like this. Jake's body was producing white blood cells at an incredible rate. These cells were supposed to fight infection, but too many of them could poison the blood and cause death within hours. Run the test again, Dr. HFY ordered. The equipment must be making an error. Nurse Veltar took another blood sample and ran it through 3 different machines. All the results came back the same. Jake's white blood cell count was 10 times higher than what should be possible for any living creature. But there was something even stranger. Dr. HFY noticed that the burned tissue on Jake's arms was beginning to look different. The black, dead skin was starting to peel away in small pieces. Underneath, he could see tiny patches of pink, healthy skin beginning to form. This cannot be happening, Dr. HFY whispered to himself. He had treated thousands of burn victims over his long career. Severe plasma burns never healed on their own. The damaged tissue usually had to be removed surgically and replaced with artificial skin grafts. Dr. HFY took a small sample of Jake's skin and put it under the microscope. What he saw made him step back in shock. The human cells were dividing and reproducing at a speed that seemed impossible. New skin cells were growing over the burned areas, and they appeared to be completely healthy. Nurse Veltar, contact Captain Monroe, Dr. HFY said. I need to ask her some questions about human biology. Captain Monroe arrived at the medical bay within 10 minutes. She looked tired and worried, but she was eager to help in any way she could. Captain, I need you to tell me everything you know about how human bodies work when they are injured, Dr. HFY began. What happens when a human is hurt badly? Captain Monroe thought for a moment. Well, our bodies have natural healing processes. When we get cut, our blood clots to stop the bleeding. When we break bones, they grow back together. Our immune systems fight off infections. But what about severe injuries like Jake's? Dr. HFY pressed. What happens when a human is close to death? I've heard stories, Captain Monroe said slowly. Sometimes when humans are in extreme danger, our bodies can do amazing things. We have something called adrenaline that can make us stronger and help us survive. There are cases of people surviving accidents that should have killed them. Dr. HFY made notes as she spoke. These concepts were completely foreign to Altarian biology. His people healed slowly and predictably. They did not have emergency chemicals that could change their body functions during crisis situations. Tell me about this adrenaline, Dr. HFY requested. It's a chemical our bodies make when we're scared or in danger, Captain Monroe explained. It makes our hearts beat faster, gives us more strength, and helps us think more clearly. Some humans can lift cars or run incredible distances when adrenaline kicks in. Dr. HFY was amazed. The idea that a body could chemically enhance itself during emergencies was beyond anything in Altarian medicine. He wondered if this might explain why Jake was still alive. Over the next few hours, more strange things began to happen. Jake's heart rate, which had been dangerously weak, started to become stronger and more regular. His blood pressure began to rise slowly but steadily. Most surprising of all, his brain activity increased significantly. Dr. Zexai ran scan after scan, but he could not find any medical explanation for these improvements. Jake's body seemed to be repairing itself from the inside out. His bone marrow was producing new blood cells at an incredible rate. His liver was processing toxins faster than should be possible. His kidneys were working overtime to clean his blood. "Doctor," Nurse Veltar called out, excitement in her voice. "Look at his chest wounds." Dr. Zexai hurried over to examine Jake. The terrible gash across his chest was beginning to close. The edges of the wound were coming together, and new tissue was growing to fill the gaps. It was still a serious injury, but it no longer looked life-threatening. "How is this possible?" Dr. Zexai asked aloud. His internal organs were severely damaged. Some of them should not be able to function at all. He performed another internal scan and discovered something that made him question everything he knew about biology. Jake's body had somehow created new pathways for blood flow around the damaged areas. Tiny blood vessels had grown overnight to bypass injured organs. His cardiovascular system had literally rewired itself to keep him alive. Dr. Zexai sat down heavily in his chair. In 50 years of practicing medicine, he had never seen anything like this. Jake Morrison was not just surviving injuries that should have killed him instantly, he was actually getting better. The Altarian doctor realized he was witnessing something that would change galactic medicine forever. If humans could heal from fatal injuries, what else could their bodies do that other species could not? As dawn approached on the medical station, Jake Morrison continued to improve. His body was proving that sometimes the impossible was simply something that had never been properly understood. Dr. Zexai had not slept in 18 hours. He sat beside Jake Morrison's bed, watching the monitors that showed the human's vital signs. Every few minutes he checked the readings again, still unable to believe what he was seeing. Jake's condition was improving steadily, which should have been impossible given his injuries. The medical bay was quiet, except for the soft beeping of the machines. Nurse Veltar had gone to rest, leaving Dr. Zexai alone with his thoughts and his mysterious patient. The Altarian doctor was beginning to question everything he had learned about medicine during his long career. At exactly 7:23 in the morning, Jake Morrison opened his eyes. Dr. Zexai almost fell out of his chair. He had been expecting Jake to remain unconscious for days if he survived at all. But there the human was, blinking slowly and looking around the room with clear, alert eyes. "Where am I?" Jake asked, his voice weak but steady. Dr. Zexai stared at him in shock. "You are in the medical bay of Galactic Medical Station Kepler 442b. I am Dr. Zexai. You were badly injured in an accident on your ship." Jake tried to sit up, but Dr. Zexai quickly moved to stop him. "Please, you must not move too much. Your injuries are still very serious." "How long have I been unconscious?" Jake asked, looking down at the bandages covering his chest and arms. 18 hours, Dr. Zexai replied, still amazed that Jake was awake and talking. "You suffered severe plasma burns and internal injuries. By all medical standards, you should not be alive right now." Jake nodded slowly. "I remember the explosion. The plasma conduit burst right in front of me. Is my crew okay? What about Captain Monroe?" Dr. Zexai was stunned. Jake had just awakened from what should have been a fatal coma, and his first concern was for other people. "Your captain is fine. She is resting in the guest quarters. Your ship's doctor was killed in the accident, but the rest of your crew survived." "Poor Dr. Phillips," Jake said sadly. "He was a good man. How bad are my injuries, doctor?" Dr. Zexai did not know how to answer. Jake's injuries had been fatal when he arrived. Now, less than a day later, he was conscious and speaking normally. "They were very severe. You had burns over 60% of your body. Your chest cavity was torn open. Several internal organs were damaged." Jake looked down at himself. I feel weak, but not as bad as I expected. The pain is manageable. That is what I do not understand, Dr. Zexhai admitted. You should be in terrible pain. You should not be conscious at all. Your body is doing things that I have never seen before. Dr. Zexhai ran a new scan of Jake's body. The results were even more surprising than before. The burned skin on Jake's arms and legs was healing at an incredible rate. New skin was growing over the damaged areas and it looked healthy and normal. The wounds on his chest were closing rapidly. Your tissue regeneration is unlike anything in our medical databases, Dr. Zexhai explained. In 18 hours you have healed more than most species heal in several weeks. Jake smiled weakly. Humans are pretty tough, I guess. We have to be, coming from Earth. What do you mean? Dr. Zexhai asked, pulling up a chair beside Jake's bed. Earth is not an easy planet to live on. Jake explained. We have dangerous weather, wild animals, diseases, and natural disasters. Humans who could not heal quickly and survive harsh conditions did not live long enough to have children. Over thousands of years, only the strongest and most resilient humans survived. Dr. Zexhai was fascinated. So your species evolved to be more resistant to injury and death? I suppose so, Jake said. We also have strong survival instincts. When humans are badly hurt, our bodies go into emergency mode. Our hearts pump faster, our blood clots quicker, and our immune systems work overtime to fight infection. Dr. Zexhai made careful notes as Jake spoke. This information was completely new to galactic medicine. What else can human bodies do in emergency situations? Jake thought for a moment. Well, there are stories of people doing incredible things when their lives were in danger. Mothers lifting cars to save their children. Soldiers continuing to fight even after being shot multiple times. People surviving for days without food or water in extreme conditions. These sound like stories from fiction, Dr. Zexhai said. I know they sound impossible, Jake replied, but they are all true. Human bodies can do amazing things when we need to survive. Dr. Zexhai stood up and contacted the Galactic Medical Council through his communication device. When the head of the council appeared on the screen, Dr. Zexhai began his report. Council Leader Mordan, I am reporting a medical case that requires immediate attention. I have a human patient who has survived injuries that should have been instantly fatal. Council Leader Mordan looked skeptical. Dr. Zexhai, are you certain your equipment is functioning properly? Fatal injuries cannot be survived by any known species. I have run full diagnostics on all equipment multiple times, Dr. Zexhai insisted. Everything is working correctly. This human has healing abilities that are not documented in any of our medical databases. That is impossible, Council Leader Morden stated firmly. Humans are a new species with no special biological capabilities. Check your equipment again and submit a corrected report. The screen went dark as the council leader ended the communication. Dr. Zexhai felt frustrated. He was witnessing medical history, but no one would believe him. Don't worry, Doctor, Jake said from his bed. I know it's hard to believe. Even humans sometimes cannot believe what our bodies can do. Dr. Zexhai turned back to his patient. Jake was sitting up slightly, looking much stronger than he had just hours before. The color was returning to his face, and his breathing was becoming deeper and more regular. Jake, I need to ask you to stay here for several more days so I can study your recovery, Dr. Zexhai said. What I am seeing could change medicine for every species in the galaxy. Of course, Doctor, Jake agreed. But can you contact my wife on Earth? I want her to know I am okay. Dr. Zexhai nodded. As he prepared the communication to Earth, he realized that he was about to become the first doctor in galactic history to document the true extent of human resilience. 3 days had passed since Jake Morrison first opened his eyes, and Dr. Zexhai could barely contain his excitement. Every hour brought new discoveries about human biology that challenged everything he thought he knew about medicine. Jake was not only recovering from his fatal injuries, but he was healing faster than any patient Dr. Zexhai had ever treated. Tell me more about human survival stories, Dr. Zexhai said as he checked Jake's wounds. The burned skin was almost completely healed. showing only faint pink marks where there had once been terrible burns. Jake was sitting up in bed, looking remarkably healthy for someone who had been near death just days before. Well, there was a man named Hugh Glass who was attacked by a bear in the wilderness. The bear tore him apart, broke his ribs, and left him for dead. But Hugh crawled over 200 miles to reach safety. It took him 6 weeks. Dr. HFY stopped what he was doing and stared at Jake. That is impossible. No being can survive such injuries and then travel such a distance. It happened in 1823, Jake continued. There are many documented cases like this. Humans have survived plane crashes in freezing mountains, shark attacks in the ocean, and being lost in deserts for weeks without water. Dr. HFY made careful notes. How do humans survive without water for weeks? Most species die within days. Our bodies are very good at conserving water when we need to, Jake explained. We can slow down our metabolism, reduce our activity, and our kidneys become extremely efficient. Some humans have survived over 2 weeks without any water at all. Captain Monroe arrived for her daily visit, carrying a small device that Dr. HFY had not seen before. I brought some historical records from our ship's database, she said. I thought they might help explain human capabilities. She activated the device, and holographic images appeared in the air above Jake's bed. The first image showed a human woman lifting the front end of a car that had trapped her child underneath. This is Angela Cavallo, Captain Monroe explained. In 1982, she lifted a car that weighed over 3,000 pounds to save her son. Normally, she could barely lift 100 pounds. Dr. HFY examined the image closely. How is this possible? Her muscle structure should not allow such strength. Adrenaline, Jake said simply. When humans face extreme danger, our bodies release chemicals that can make us incredibly strong for short periods. We can lift things that normally would be impossible, run faster than we ever could, and ignore pain that would stop us completely. The next holographic image showed a human man with multiple bullet wounds still fighting in what appeared to be a battle. Captain Monroe continued the explanation. This is Sergeant York from World War I. He was shot 17 times but continued fighting for 6 hours. He single-handedly captured over 100 enemy soldiers. Dr. HFY felt dizzy. He should have died from blood loss after the first few wounds. Human blood clots very quickly when we are injured, Jake explained. Our bodies can seal wounds temporarily to keep us fighting or running until we reach safety. We also have a high tolerance for pain when survival is at stake. Captain Monroe showed more images, humans surviving in frozen temperatures that should have killed them, people living through accidents that destroyed their homes and cities, explorers enduring conditions that would be fatal to most other species. This is why humans are such good explorers and colonists, Captain Monroe said. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Only the humans who could survive impossible conditions lived long enough to have children. Dr. HFY was beginning to understand. So human evolution selected for extreme survival capabilities. Exactly, Jake agreed. But it is not just physical. Humans also have strong mental resilience. We can keep going even when we know the situation is hopeless. We call it determination or stubbornness. Dr. HFY thought about his own species. Altarians lived on a peaceful planet with few dangers. They had evolved to be intelligent and calm, but they were not built for survival in harsh conditions. If an Altarian suffered injuries like Jake's, they would simply accept death as inevitable. What about human recreational activities? Dr. HFY asked. Captain Monroe mentioned that humans do dangerous things for entertainment. Jake laughed, which made Dr. HFY jump. He had never heard a patient laugh while recovering from severe injuries. Oh yes, humans love extreme sports. We go mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, skydiving, auto racing. We deliberately put ourselves in dangerous situations because it makes us feel alive. Captain Monroe activated another series of images showing humans engaging in activities that looked terrifying to Dr. HFY. People jumping off cliffs with only fabric wings, diving into deep water without breathing equipment, climbing up sheer rock faces with no safety gear. Many humans exercise by deliberately damaging their muscles, Jake continued. We lift heavy weights until our muscles tear, then let them heal stronger than before. We run until our bodies are exhausted, push ourselves past our limits, and call it fun? Dr. HFY was amazed. You intentionally injure yourselves to become stronger? That is how human muscles work, Jake explained. When we stress them, they rebuild themselves to handle more stress next time. Our bones become denser when we put weight on them. Our hearts become stronger when we make them work harder. Dr. HFY realized that human biology was fundamentally different from every other species he had studied. While other species avoided damage and stress, humans actively sought it out to improve themselves. There is something else, Captain, Monroe said quietly. Humans have been known to survive purely through willpower. People who should have died from their injuries sometimes live simply because they refuse to give up. She showed an image of a human who had been trapped under rubble for days after an earthquake. This man survived for 8 days without food or water, with severe internal injuries. When rescuers found him, he was still conscious. He said he stayed alive by thinking about his family. Dr. HFY looked at Jake, who was now standing and walking around the room despite having been near death less than a week ago. Your species is remarkable. You are designed to survive things that would destroy other life forms. We had to be, Jake said with a smile. Earth is a dangerous place, but it made us strong, and now we are bringing that strength to the stars. Dr. HFY began to understand that humans were not just another species joining the galactic community. They were something entirely new, something that could change everything. 2 weeks after the accident that should have killed him, Jake Morrison stood in the medical bay putting on his uniform. His recovery was complete, something that Dr. HFY still found hard to believe. The human looked healthy and strong, with only faint scars where terrible wounds had once covered his body. I cannot thank you enough, Doctor, Jake said as he prepared to return to his ship. You saved my life. Dr. HFY shook his head. I did very little, Jake. Your body saved itself. I simply watched and learned. Captain Monroe arrived to escort Jake back to the U.S. Liberty. The ship had been repaired and was ready to continue its mission. How are you feeling, Jake? She asked. Good as new, Captain, Jake replied with a smile. Maybe even better. Dr. HFY says my body is stronger now than it was before the accident. This was true. Dr. HFY's final scans showed that Jake's cardiovascular system had improved during his recovery. His heart was pumping more efficiently, his blood chemistry was better balanced, and his immune system was stronger than when he first arrived. It was as if the near-death experience had made his body upgrade itself. After Jake and Captain Monroe left, Dr. HFY sat down to write his final report. He had documented every aspect of Jake's recovery, taken thousands of scans and blood samples, and recorded hours of conversations about human biology. The information he had gathered would change galactic medicine forever. But first he had to convince the Galactic Medical Council that his findings were real. Dr. HFY submitted his complete report and requested an emergency meeting with the council. 3 days later, he found himself standing before the 5 most respected medical professionals in the galaxy. Council leader Mordan looked skeptical as he reviewed the data. Dr. HFY, these claims are extraordinary. Council leader Mordan said, you are asking us to believe that humans can survive injuries that would instantly kill any other known species. I am not asking you to believe anything, Dr. HFY replied calmly. I am presenting documented medical evidence. Every scan, every blood test, every measurement has been verified multiple times. Council member Thyra, a respected surgeon from the Centauri system, spoke next. Even if we accept that this one human survived severe injuries, how do we know this is normal for their species? Perhaps this Jake Morrison is unusual, even for a human. Dr. HFY had prepared for this question. I have spent the last 2 weeks researching human history and biology. What I witnessed with Jake Morrison is not unusual at all. It is typical human capability. He activated a holographic display showing the historical records that Captain Monroe had shared with him. Images of humans surviving impossible conditions filled the room. Humans regularly survive situations that would kill other species. Dr. HFY continued. They have evolved on a planet where extreme survival was necessary for millions of years. Their bodies are designed to handle damage and stress that would destroy other life forms. Council member Zorak from the Vegan colonies looked uncomfortable. If humans are so resilient, what does this mean for the rest of us? Are we inferior? Not inferior, Dr. ZXI answered. Different. Each species has evolved for their specific environment. Altarians are peaceful and intelligent. Centaurians are excellent at mathematics and engineering. Vegans have incredible artistic abilities. Humans are exceptional survivors. Council leader Mordan studied the data more carefully. Dr. ZXI, if your findings are correct, this has implications beyond medicine. If humans can survive conditions that kill other species, they could explore parts of the galaxy that we have considered too dangerous. That is exactly what I believe, Dr. ZXI said. Humans may be the key to expanding galactic civilization into hostile environments. They could colonize planets that we thought were uninhabitable. The council members looked at each other with concern. The idea that a single species could access areas of space that were forbidden to others was troubling to some of them. There is more, Dr. ZXI continued. Human medical knowledge could benefit all species. Their understanding of trauma treatment, emergency medicine, and biological resilience is far ahead of our own in some areas. Council member Thyra leaned forward. What are you proposing, Dr. ZXI? I propose that we establish a new medical research program focused on human biology, Dr. ZXI said. We could learn techniques that might help other species survive injuries that are currently fatal. Human medicine could save millions of lives across the galaxy. The council deliberated. For several hours before reaching their decision, Council Leader Mordan announced their conclusion. Dr. ZXI, we are approving your research proposal. You will be given resources to study human medicine and biology. We are also assigning you as the primary liaison between the Galactic Medical Council and human medical authorities. Dr. ZXI felt a wave of excitement. Thank you, Council Leader, I will not disappoint you. 3 months later, Dr. ZXI found himself aboard a transport ship heading toward Earth. He had been invited to study at the leading human medical institutions and to share galactic medical knowledge with human doctors. As the ship approached the blue and green planet that humans called home, Dr. ZXI reviewed video files showing human activities. He watched humans climbing mountains in freezing weather, diving to the bottom of oceans, and running races that lasted for days. He saw human athletes pushing their bodies to limits that would hospitalize most other species. Incredible, Dr. ZXI murmured to himself. They treat extreme physical stress as entertainment. The transport ship entered Earth's atmosphere, and Dr. ZXI got his first close look at the planet that had produced such remarkable beings. He could see evidence of natural disasters, extreme weather patterns, and dangerous terrain. No wonder humans had evolved to be so resilient. Dr. ZXI realized that meeting Jake Morrison had changed not only his understanding of medicine, but his view of what was possible in the universe. Humans were not just another species joining the galactic community. They were pioneers who could take civilization to places that had never been possible before. As the ship landed at the spaceport, Dr. ZXI prepared to begin the most important work of his career. He was about to help bridge the gap between human and galactic medicine, combining the knowledge of hundreds of species with the remarkable survival abilities of humanity. The future of galactic medicine would never be the same.